Good morning, guys. We are going to do some focus notes today on water properties. So yesterday you got your vocabulary through a set of labs, and today you guys are going to take some notes by watching a video on the Amoeba sisters and taking some structured, focused notes. So you guys are first going to write down this chart. It is a 3-column chart. So you need 1, 2, 3 columns. And then you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. So 3 columns, 8 rows. You're going to put your question in the first column, your answer in the second, and a picture in the third. So that's why you are writing them down today, because you are going to be drawing pictures when you're finished. Okay, so let's watch the video. This is linked here and your weekly lesson planner.
Not really a riddle. We're bad at riddles, but more like...
Let me restart it. Sorry, my sound wasn't on.
So we have a riddle for you. Okay, not really a riddle. We're... It's polar. It's shaped like an outstretched V. Its properties are awesome, and it makes up 3/4 of the surface of the Earth. That one always gives it away. Our favorite molecule is water, and we're not going to lecture you about how important water is and the fact that all life as we know it could not survive without it, because, yeah, that's true. But we really want to talk about what makes water so unique for biology itself. What are some awesome properties of water? Now, we mentioned the shape of water and the fact that water is polar. It has one very electronegative oxygen that is always trying to keep the electrons closer to it than to the hydrogens it's bonded to. And this actually gives oxygen a slightly negative charge because of the electrons that are spending more time next to it, and it gives the hydrogens a slightly positive charge. Well, that means that other water molecules have an easy time bonding together. Why? Well, because the hydrogen of one water molecule with its slightly positive charge can bond to another water molecule's oxygen with that slightly negative charge. These bonds among the water molecules are hydrogen bonds, and these are the very bonds that allow water to have many of the properties that we're about to talk about. Have you ever looked at a really tall tree and wondered, how does the water get all the way up there?
All right, we're going to stop it there and go back to our document. What is the structure of water? Well, from the video, we know that there is one hydrogen atom with 2 oxygen atoms. Why is water polar? And explain the charge of water. Hydrogen has a different charge than oxygen because polar are opposite. So poles are opposite. You have a positive and a negative. They can create different properties of water. Next, we're going to talk about how does water flow through plants.
I mean, it's got to go against gravity. Gravity? Well, in our plant video, we talk about the xylem. It's vessels within certain types of plants, like trees, and these vessels transport water. But what's really neat about water is that it sticks to the xylem walls in what is known as adhesion, and this helps fight gravity. But water molecules with their hydrogen bonding, they also bond to each other in something called cohesion. It's almost a beads on a string kind of fashion. Water molecules evaporate from a leaf, and then the next water molecule in line is pulled upwards, and so on. This cohesion is really a big deal. Cohesion is also a reason that water striders, one of our favorite insect types, can skate on water. Cohesion contributes to the surface tension of water. Water actually has I have a riddle for you.
Oh. All right, let's go to our notes. How does water flow through plants? There are two reasons, so you need to explain both. The first is adhesion sticks to the side of the stem or the xylem, and then the water sticks to other water molecules to travel upward, which is called cohesion. There is a narrow passageway, and through transpiration, the water is pulled up against gravity. So adhesion is one way, cohesion is the second. And with this working together, transpiration happens and works against gravity. Next, we're going to look at how does cohesion support surface tension.
Insect types can skate on water. Cohesion contributes to the surface tension of water. Water actually has quite a bit of surface tension compared to many other liquids. And it's not just water striders that can walk on water. There are a lot of insects, spiders, and even larger animals like reptiles and some birds that have the ability to walk on water. So, to the Google for that. Now, with water being polar, it's also a very powerful solvent.
All right, let's stop there. How does cohesion support surface tension? Cohesion sticks together and creates a film/skin that has gathered together due to the force of polar molecules. The next question we have is, why is water called the universal solvent, and how does the human body use this property?
For other molecules. And that means that water can dissolve many other molecules, especially polar molecules and ionic compounds. Now, why does that matter? Well, this is really important because many of the processes that occur in organisms use water as a solvent. In our body system video, we talk about the function of kidneys, and you definitely couldn't have kidneys doing their function without water. Also, a main component for body fluids is water. I'll never forget when I was little, my father built us a pond. We had some goldfish in there, and I loved this pond. Well, in West Texas, where we're from, it can freeze in the...
We're going to stop it there because that's leading into the next question. So why is water called the universal solvent? Because of polarity. It will dissolve just about anything. So water can dissolve just about anything. And how does the human body use this water property? The body uses it to move a substance throughout the body and to function our body systems. The next question we have, what are the characteristics of water when it freezes, and how do organisms survive when they are under a frozen layer?
The winter. And one morning I went outside, terrified to find that the top of the pond had frozen. And I thought our fish were goners. Only to find out that they were swimming and doing their fish activities under the ice layer. It's common for many substances to actually contract when they freeze and to become more dense. But water expands when it freezes and becomes less dense in its frozen state, resulting in floating ice, where it can actually make this insulated surface layer that makes a difference for many organisms underneath. And this is due to the hydrogen bonds. See, at freezing level, the making and breaking of hydrogen bonds, which usually happens pretty often, is not happening very much when frozen. And so the molecules, they're set into this lattice of hydrogen bonded molecules, just far enough apart that it's less dense in ice form than it is in water form. And that's going to be very important for all of that aquatic life. Speaking of temperature,
so what are the characteristics of water when it freezes? It contracts and becomes less dense. How do organisms survive when they are under a frozen layer? The ice creates an insulated barrier. So even though there's a layer of ice at the top, it creates a barrier and insulates the water below for the aquatic life. Next question. Why does water resist changing in temperature? And how does this property work? What are the positives to this property?
Water resists changing its temperature. It has what's called a high specific heat. Specific heat, it's a measurement of heat that's needed to be absorbed or lost for 1 gram of a substance to change its temperature by 1 degree Celsius. And that's why on the first day that school is out in the summer, it may be super hot outside, but the water could still be pretty cool. It's really good that water's like this for life. It's stabilizing for aquatic environment temperatures. And it also means that water can absorb a lot of heat in the summer without reaching as high of a temperature itself, which is useful when winter comes along, because then the water can release heat as it cools in the winter. This also impacts the environment. Now, still on the topic of temperature, consider evaporation. Many animals rely on evaporation to cool them. Think of water molecules. They are moving, but those that have more heat energy, they're moving the fastest. And they're the more likely molecules to make the phase change to gas. And these molecules, as they leave, their energy, their heat, is no longer on your skin. And by the way, all of this is not just animals too. Plants use evaporative cooling to aid them in hot temperatures. Excessive high temperatures could be very dangerous for many different processes in both plants and animals. It can be damaging to the enzymes involved in those processes. So that evaporative cooling is very important. Well, we went through a lot of...
All right, let's answer those questions. Water has, let me fix that, has a high specific heat. Water takes longer to heat up and it takes longer to cool down, and water is stabilizing. How is evaporation used to cool animals, and how does it help plants? Through sweating, water is released and it cools the body down. And with plants, transpiration cools the organism down and hydrates it. Let's finish the end of the video.
Features of water. Definitely something to consider next time you encounter it, which, based on how much we depend on water, will likely be soon. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters, and we remind you to stay curious.
Okay, now that you have your notes, you need to go to your third column that you made and draw a picture. These can be pictures that you saw in the video. So you could draw the structure here. You could draw some plants along with labeling adhesion and cohesion. For down here, you could draw, the plant that had the sweatband on and using it to stabilize itself. Any of those would work. All right, I think that's everything. Go ahead and get started on your notes.